Meek people are not weak people. The translation of this word meek in the Bible is actually a bit unfortunate, because the original word has nothing to do with weakness. If you say someone is meek in English, it usually means that they're a bit weak, they're a bit of a pushover. The person is easy to manipulate. They are not that strong. That's not what Jesus meant. When Jesus said this is precisely what Jesus said. Jesus said, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." When Jesus said this, most people actually heard weakness. The tragedy is actually in the translation. They are actually extremely dangerous. They are a little bit like monsters. But there's a bit of a caveat. See, in English, Bible verses make you think of a timid person, someone who's maybe a bit fragile, right? Yeah, maybe the person is easily trampled over. No. But the Greek word Jesus used, praus, actually describes a trained war horse. It's strong, it's powerful, but when there's noise and chaos going around, it remains calm and it follows instructions. And this environment doesn't affect how it feels. The screaming and chaos around it doesn't hinder it from doing the job that it's supposed to do. When it's attacked, it doesn't flinch. That's a war horse. It's powerful, it's muscular, it's filled with energy, yet it has the discipline to move only at the rider's command. This is what meekness is. Meekness is also used to describe a tiger which has sharp teeth and sharp claws, but it refuses to hurt or bite the hand that feeds it. This is what meekness is. And so there are many examples of meek people in pop culture, and one of the ones I chose to talk about is Aslan from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. You see, he's not tame. He is really, really, really good. He's not harmless. He's actually really, really terrifying in the way he speaks and his strength, but he restrains his strength for the sake of other people. And here are some of his characteristics. He can annihilate his enemies by himself, but he chooses sacrifice. He could deploy his teeth, his claws. They're basically weapons. Yet he lays his life down for people who betray him. And he saves traitors. That is meekness. It's the lion who chooses when to roar, but most of the time he's quite silent. This is what meekness is. And it's not weak. There's nothing weak about doing that. In fact, there's a lot of internal control and internal strength which is required to be meek. In other words, a meek person has both external power and external influence. They have the capacity to be dangerous, but they also have monstrous levels of discipline and self-control. And so it's almost like what they have on the outside, the strength on the outside, matches what's on the inside. Yeah. And Jesus said those people are going to inherit the earth. We're going to talk about exactly how Jesus taught this. Okay? Jesus taught this in a number of ways, but the most iconic one I enjoy the most was when Jesus taught his disciples. He said, if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. This is before Jesus died in Luke chapter 22, verse 36. Why? Jesus wanted them to be armed. Jesus wanted them to be prepared. He wanted them to have power and be capable. And that was one of the last lessons Jesus taught his disciples. He wanted them to have swords. He didn't want wimps. He didn't want helpless followers like a lot of Christians today. He wanted them to carry power. He wanted them to be a threat. Yes. But when Peter unsheathed his sword and he cut off the ear of one of the servants who were coming to arrest Jesus, and Jesus rebuked him, and Jesus said, put your sword back into its place, back into its sheath on your waist. Why? Why would you tell somebody to get a sword, and then when they use it, you then rebuke them? It's because having the power does not equal to using it. And this is such an important lesson. It embodies what meekness is. What does Jesus do with his power? Jesus could have called legions of angels to come down and just absolutely tear up the people who were coming to arrest him. He didn't. He was showing them, look, I have the power to do this, but I won't. And that's strength. That's meekness. I am the Lion of Judah, but I'm going to act as a lamb. And he wanted to show them how to do that, but they didn't quite get it. And so Jesus showed what meekness actually does. Meekness heals. That's what it does. It's a power that heals. It heals the individual who practices meekness. It also heals other people. Christ went up to the person bleeding from their ears, screaming in agony. He took the fallen ear that had been cut off and he placed it back and healed the person. See, I could destroy you, but instead I'm going to heal you. I'm going to make sure that you leave this place better than you came. You leave my presence whole. And my power, my strength, my brutal monstrosity is actually not to hurt, to kill, to steal, to overpower and control. That's not what it's for. It's for healing. And those people are going to inherit the earth. And so here's the thing, right? If you're actually weak, you can't be meek. If you're a timid person, if you're incapable, you can't ever be meek. You can't. You have to have power and have the self-control not to use it. And so to be meek, you first have to become strong. You have to become brutally strong. You have to become a monster. You have to have claws you choose not to use. And so men and women of God, you have to train your bodies. You need to become physically powerful. And the discipline of becoming strong, building a strong physique, actually helps you train to be meek. You have to sharpen all the skills that you have. You have to be absolutely dangerous at work, in the sense that if a problem comes to you, it has to vanish. That problem has to be defeated. You have to be known as that sort of person. You have to master a craft, and you have to build painfully and agonizingly into somebody other people can look up to. Because of your strength, when you turn up, you bring peace and calmness because of the strength that you have and because of the knowledge and wisdom that you have. And when you become powerful, you become influential, you become wealthy with money, you become competent, you become like a monster. But Christ says that once you get that sword, you need to sheath it. In other words, you have to then restrain it. You must use the strength only in service and only under the Holy Spirit's control. This is an example of dominion. Yes, and that's one of the things you were created to do. You were created to have power over a lot of different things and in a lot of different areas, but then use it to love God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. That is what meekness is about. There are some people who learn martial arts and they want to hurt other people. That's not meekness. You learn martial arts to have the capacity to actually break people's bones. But then when the time comes, you show mercy instead. You want to become a wealthy person so that you can help other people secretly and quietly, rather than displaying your sports cars and your shoes and all that stuff. That isn't meekness. That is weakness. It's not meekness. Anyone who, whenever they get money, they want to buy a shoe, they want to buy clothes, they want to buy a house and show everybody, they want to splurge and show people where they're traveling to on social media. Those people are not meek. Meekness has power, and the power is used in silence. It's used quietly. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. My name is Dr. Josiah Lawrence, and this is Purpose, Prayer, and Planes. If you found what you listened to very useful, please do leave a like and a subscription. This is a very, very small channel, and every single contribution from you makes a whole load of difference. If you know anyone who could use this information, please send it to them as well, and it will bless them and it will bless me too.